I don't know. I'm not really feeling like I want to be buying yet.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit because I think that's an interesting discussion. One thing I've been telling the guys in the Discord is that we have to sort of bifurcate our time frames here into
Yeah, the
extremely
traders
narrow
versus the
windows
yeah.
and really long-term windows. Like even trading, like taking like a 1 week position feels terrible, right? Like you can day trade, you could scalp, that's chill, but like I think you got to do that and just like grab moves and get the hell out or just start zooming way out, right?
Yeah,
And I
that's
think when you
hard. That's
zoom
hard
way
for
out,
I think that's hard for magic lines, right? For your job now is like you're talking to all of these people, right? Like everybody on these different time horizons. Whereas like clients at Scope Wealth are all long term oriented, and it's like it's much easier.
yeah, it is hard for me because I'm juggling the day traders, the scalpers, the swing traders, the crypto people, the casuals who are just kind of buying stuff and hoping it goes up in the long run. And there's like different strategies and different messages for all these things, right? But I haven't done much in my long term portfolio for a while, but I decided to buy on Monday. I actually lucked out and basically bottom ticked it. I don't think that's going to be the bottom tick, but
Are you talking about
local bottom
long term
ticked it.
holds?
Yeah, I ended up buying. A little bit of. You familiar with the VGT?
Is that a bond? Is that a what is that? Vanguard Growth or something?
It's the Vanguard Information Technology Fund. It's got like
Okay.
Nvidia and just a bunch of tech stuff in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I've been just like looking for levels to start buying. It's a little tricky, right? You always want to just think in your brain, like, oh, I'm just going to shove it all in at the bottom, but it doesn't work that way. So, as far as VGT went, we basically were down 30% from the top and we tagged the prior all time high. So, I was like, look, this is a good level to buy something. Like anytime you're
Yeah, I
30%
agree.
down on really good names, you're tagging like a prior all-time high. Like this is a level we traded December 2021. I
Yeah,
mean, I feel okay shoving some in there.
I
I've been
agree.
kind of
I think this is
adopting
probably
this like
cap
a
weighted.
rule of three thing. Sorry.
What's the rule of three?
The rule of three is like when you're trying to sell the top by the bottom, like, I like to do it in threes. So you sell one tranche. You're usually a little bit early, right? You kind of know that you're going to be a little bit early, right? And then you fire off another one, and that usually ends up being closer, if not exactly at the top. And then you fire off your last bullet, when the move is like really clear and it's definitely moving in that direction. And by doing that, like I feel like you end up getting reasonably close to like sort of like an average price that you're happy with. So long as you don't do this in like a 3 day period, like it's best done like over the course of like weeks
Yeah,
at least
I
to
actually
spread it
like
out.
that. I don't use like the DCA method, which is like just trickle it in sort of forever. I actually like doing it the way you're describing, where it's like once I identify that I want to start buying, then I sort of tranche it out that way.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, like I'm just looking at a time like this is like an opportunity to acquire great assets that had been like so expensive for so long, and you can just get them for pretty cheap. And I'm looking at like the forward earnings multiples on things like Google around like 15 times, or Nvidia at like 18 times, Meta at 18 times forward estimates. And if you use forward estimates, it's it's risky because it's a forecast, but it's also like cheap enough where you're like, dude, this is still very good. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ready. I'm still just kind of getting greedy. I want cheaper, but I think it's reasonable.
Yeah, we all want cheaper, and yeah, we might get it. I mean, we have no idea how far the orange man's going to take this. I mean, we're basically witnessing just the greatest game of financial chicken that's ever played out right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it today, but China responded to the tariffs. They retaliated after the Trump admin was like, "Do not retaliate, do not retaliate." So China announced retaliatory measures against the U.S. And then Trump came out today and was like, "All right, you want 52% tariffs? Boom, 104% tariffs." doubled them.
Right. Yeah.
So that caused the nuke today. That's when we went from up, nearly 5% to down nearly 2 on the day. That was the catalyst for that. So this is kind of like an escalate to de-escalate thing, which is always a dangerous game to play. But that does seem to be the generalized philosophy of Trump and everything that he does.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned this in the Discord probably several times, but I'll say it again. Like, it's always been my strategy as an investor to sort of ignore macro and just buy companies that are good companies that generate cash flows, that will generate cash flows regardless of what type of like macro environment is happening. And I think all of these like Mag sevens, there is a narrative to suggest that their forward cash flows are at risk. But I think for the most part, like, there's no tariffs on digital advertisements, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, but obviously the companies that buy the ads, if they don't make profits.
If we go into a recession, then that's probably the first thing to get cut. Yeah, I mean, there's always like risk, but I think this is just, the market's also forward looking, right? It's like some of this is being priced in right now. So I think that's fair too.
So quaint looking at this chart and seeing the little box we drew a few episodes ago. It's just, because we had a conversation about shorting up here, and I did end up shorting. That did end up being the top. Didn't have the balls to hold the entire size all the way down because, it's always tough to do that. But whew, what a tumble. But yeah, you can see NASDAQ basically tagged all-time highs. S&P hasn't done so yet. One of the interesting things I've, pointed people to on the S&P is the 200 week, which I feel like is a pretty good metric. Like, basically since the GFC, the 200 week has been like a screaming buy. COVID, underwater for a little bit, but like pretty quickly above buy. Tapped it here, back up, tapped it here, back up. So we're approaching basically like prior all-time high and 200 week on the S&P. I mean, it's a pretty huge technical level. It's definitely a place where we could bottom. And look, I think if you're like a long-term minded guy, I think you just have to deploy some capital here, because we are just like a couple tweets away from this being like over. And then I think we maybe have a different set of problems down the road, but this particular phase of the bear would maybe be done.